Welcome back to Credit Chat Live. Today, we will be learning about reducing business expenses. And we have Tim Ross here, who brings 28 years of leadership experience to the table to get into this topic with us. So, Tim specializes in optimizing expenses to help businesses succeed. He actively works with a team of expert analysts to explore different opportunities to cut down on costs. So, welcome, Tim. We're just so glad to have you. What are
No,
some common areas where small businesses tend to overspend, and how can they identify those areas?
yeah, people ask that a lot. What areas do I need to look at? And so one of the first things I always say when I'm talking to, especially to a small business owner, is it's not so much the area, it's really why an opinion on why it happened in the first place. And I wanted to cover some of those things. So imagine if you're a business owner and you're opening a business. I just want my credit cards to work so I can open. So you open up, your credit cards work, you're great. Well, a lot of these expenses are based on how much you do in volume or revenue. So let's say you start out, you're doing zero, and all of a sudden you're doing $100,000 a month. Well, the companies won't just contact you and say to reduce it. You have to do that yourself. So a lot of times what happens is they'll start it up, they'll be working fine, they get busy, and they don't want to they don't want to take the time to study it, but they can be overspending tremendously by just starting it up and never doing anything with it. So it's a startup. At the very beginning, I get an expense going and I don't know what I'm doing. I just want it to work. And then the next thing is not understanding expenses in general or being intimidated by them. So I don't know how my phone, internet, and everything works. I just know that I want it to work. And they don't take the time to understand exactly what they want, how to use it. They don't understand, hey, there's multiple vendors that take care of this for me. So they wind up overpaying because of that intimidation, that fear, that whatever, that I just need it to work for my business. And another thing that never happens is they don't ever audit it because they don't have the time, they don't understand how to audit their expenses. And so what the areas that I would look at are the ones that I know I had to put in place to get my business running and I just wanted it to work. Because more than likely you're overspending if you've done that and you've never did anything to adjust, or it's been that way with that person for a long time with no discussion on what I can do to optimize my expenses. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yes,
Absolutely.
before we started this podcast, Tim and I were chatting and we were talking about how easy it is just to become comfortable with the way things are running and not really perform those essential check-ins on is everything running as efficiently as it could be. And so this is all great information to share. Now we're in tight times, right? And so some business owners may be thinking, how can I cut expenses? And one question that we wanted to ask is, how can business owners distinguish between essential and non-essential expenses when trying to figure out areas where they could save in their budget?
So whenever I'm asked that question, a lot of people look at me, I can't believe you just gave me that simple of an answer. But it's really this simple. If it isn't necessary in order to keep your business running, if it isn't necessary to make your business efficient, or it doesn't make your business grow, then it's probably a non-essential expense. It's probably an
Yeah,
expense I want just to make my business look better. I feel better about it. But if it isn't making it run efficiently, or actually grow, it is not an essential expense. It's that easy. And it's shocking how many people will buy software subscriptions, these different things, and it'll add up to 500,000, or if you're a bigger company, several $1,000s a month, and you really aren't using it, you just have it. So really, it's just
mhm.
those three things
I
is
love
what I
that
would look
because
at.
the whole point of these credit chat conversations, this credit chat live conversations, is make this information easy for anybody to digest, whether you're a seasoned business owner or you're just thinking about becoming a business owner. And I like how you made that so simple. I think when we talk about even just needs versus wants in our own personal lives, you simplify it to that point too. Do you need it to live? Then it's a need. If it's more than that, then it's likely going to be a want. So I love how you simplified that aspect of it.
Well, that's good. Like I said, it really is that simple. There isn't really a lot more to it. It's that simple. Divide your expenses up into categories, and that's what you ask yourself. Those two questions.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that, Tim. It also reminds me of minimalism, which is sort of trending lifestyle choice that some people are attracted to, cutting down. Do I actually need this? Especially during trying times,
Yeah.
inflationary periods like this. What do you think are some financial practices that small business owners listening in, or even more seasoned owners with bigger businesses, can adopt to better manage their expenses overall?
Well, obviously, if you're a small business, it's about educating yourself because you're the ones that's going to be doing the most of the decision making, or hiring somebody that can help you long enough to get you where you need to be. If you're a larger business owner, definitely hire somebody and get them in your business that can really work on these expenses and focus on them. Unfortunately, most people don't have that luxury. The other thing I found is I've been really shocked at the number of business owners that don't study their profit and loss statement on a regular basis. They basically run their business of how much money is in the account, how much do I have left over. They don't take the time to study their P&L. And that's even successful people who have a lot of money coming in and they don't study it. But by studying it at least I'm saying minimum quarterly, I would look at mine monthly, and probably I'm looking at it every week to see how my month's going to come out. But understanding how your P&L shaping, what your expenses look like. Yeah, it's up over the last few months. Does it make sense why it's up, or is it up for no reason at all? And then taking the time then is, once you find an opportunity, doing an audit. If you're not auditing your expenses several times a year, especially ones that can fluctuate, you're probably spending way too much money. But the big thing is just educating, or being around somebody that knows how to do it for you, and making sure you're taking the time to study your financials.
I love that. We often talk about the importance of being prepared for the unexpected. We talk about having an emergency savings in your own personal life. Now, this could also translate to your business life. How can businesses prepare for the unexpected expenses and ensure that they have a little bit of a financial cushion to help them navigate the unexpected?
Yeah, I think the one thing you have to do on that is understand those items, the machines, the equipment, or the building in general, that what's got to be repaired, replaced, or eventually serviced at some point in time. And create a liability account up. And whether that has to be for several liability accounts for that equipment, or just one overall maintenance account, do that and take a monthly, amount out and keep it in that account all the time. That way, when an expense comes, you have it sitting there in order to pay for new equipment, repair the equipment, or clean the equipment, or whatever, instead of just all of a sudden I got this huge expense. What do I do? That
Mm-hmm.
happens all the time, right? I've seen so many business owners that all of a sudden I got to spend $10,000 on this piece of equipment that I've had for 7 years. Well,
Yeah.
had they been doing that, it's going to wear out. You just got to have a good estimated amount of what I got to put away every month to cover that whenever it's time to, do something with it.
Now, how do they calculate that estimated amount when auditing how much they need to set aside for equipment and other aspects?
Well, so I think that if you want to do it the easy way, you understand what the new equipment costs when you bought it, what it's likely to cost in the future, divide that by the number of months that you think it will be till you need to replace it, and put that much aside every month. Uh,
Okay.
that's pretty simple.
Wow.
If if you know the equipment enough to know what kind of repair or maintenance you need, you put that much money. If I got to do a maintenance every 6 months, it costs $600. I put $100 every month away in order to have that ready whenever it's time. So it's just taking the time. And once again, it's kind of like setting up my expenses the first time, right? You got to take the time to do that work. We get so caught up in the business itself. This is the part that we miss, and we aren't as profitable as we could be, or have as good a cash flow, because we miss those type of things when we're looking at the details of our business.
I love that. And
Absolutely.
so it's really important before you invest that you understand how much you're investing in that machinery or that product or that service that you need to keep that business running, and then determine, okay, this is what I need to set aside in order to ensure that everything runs smoothly. Kind of you invest in it for your future. I love that.
I love it. And there's always going to be something that's going to come up, and business credit might even be something for certain businesses to consider in those situations where they might not have that access to that reserve of funds. Or do you recommend that, Tim, for certain
Absolutely.
businesses?
The more that you look at business credit, and I'm not saying I'm an expert on business credit, there's plenty of great people out there that are, but there's so many ways to get business credit and not pay a fortune for it as well. And it's kind of like expenses in general. If you don't take the time to research it, understand it, or hire somebody that does to work with you, then you're probably not going to have it when you need it. And you're probably paying too much with it when you get it, or for it whenever you get it.
Certainly, and that's something that you definitely want to avoid. With that being said, what are some common mistakes you're seeing small business owners make when they're trying to cut costs, and how can they avoid these mistakes?
Yeah, so I think there's three things that come to my mind. One is they they may not understand that they do it themselves, and the vendor, sure enough, they come back and they lower your expenses, so you feel great. Well, then all of a sudden you'll talk to somebody who's doing the same business, or somebody who knows what they're doing. You realize, oh, I only cut it about a third of what I could have got it cut had I known what competitive rates actually were. That happens all the time. I want to do it myself. I don't want to pay somebody, but guess what? Had you paid somebody, you would have paid their fees and you still would have saved more money. And plus you would have them engaged and they'd be helping you along the way as well. So I think that's one. The next thing is I've seen this happen so many times. I'm going through and looking at all the features I don't need. I cut it out. I don't really study enough really what it does, only to come find out my business changes slightly. Now I need it. And when I go to get it back, then all of a sudden it's more expensive than it was initially because it's on a promotional rate or it just isn't that price anymore. I've seen that happen so many times. And then the other things I don't understand, this is one thing I don't understand, is cutting expenses that will grow your business. And I always use this as the marketing mistake. Hey, I'm going to cut my marketing so I can reduce my expenses. Well, then you just cut the life cord that's probably growing your business. So why would you do that? It's about making the right decisions on, remembering the essentials, right? If you're going to cut, don't cut your essentials. There's no reason to do that. And then understanding really how you reduce your expenses and what you need in order to run your business correctly. A lot of people will cut, they make those mistakes, and it winds up costing them more in the long run, or they don't save the money they could have saved.
Yeah. Can you just give some examples of you? I love that marketing example. Are there any other examples that you can share that can be a mistake when cutting for small business owners to really think about?
Yeah, I think the one thing that hurts more than anything right now, our most valuable asset is people.
Mhm.
And you need to constantly be investing in your people. That doesn't necessarily mean you're paying them more than anybody else out there. That means you're making them feel like family. That means you're providing programs, incentives, you're doing things, you're having company picnics, you're doing that type of thing. If you get to a point to where you don't invest in people and you cut that out, you're going to be spiraling down really quick because your people are your biggest asset. And I think between marketing and people, those are the two things I say never touch it. You have to be in dire straits. It's the last cord you have to pull that parachute. Don't do it because those two things are going to sink you, and they'll sink
Mhm.
you quickly too.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. When you're not investing in your people, morale can go down, and then the production stops being at the quality that you need it to help your business succeed. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Now, what are some resources, whether it's books, websites, courses that you recommend for small business owners looking to learn more about cost management for their business?
Yeah. So I tell you what, when I think about that question, I kind of go off topic a little bit, and this is why. First of all, expenses are hard to understand. If you ever tried to learn about credit card processing, you need to know about 20 different terminologies and everything else. There's nothing simple about it. So when I think about that, I don't think it's about reading books, going and reading things on your own. I think it's about finding that group, finding that person that's walking in your shoes and has been successful. Spending time with them, whether that's in a mastermind group, whether that's just a friend or somebody in your community that actually has done it before. Spend time with them because you're going to get there faster. You're going to spend less time. And more than likely, the reason you're probably having issues with your expenses is you don't have time to address them anyway. So find somebody that can get you there quickly. And then the other thing is if you don't have that, there's plenty of people out there that you can pay to help you do that. I think the last thing, and it's really about personal development. If you're learning about expenses, you're developing yourself. And I should have been one of the things we talked about expense wise. Always be paying money, always be doing something to invest in yourself because you want to grow. Things are going to change. And whenever you hire somebody, you're really investing in yourself. You're investing in your business to get something done, but you learn as you do it. So I think those are really the biggest thing is get around and align yourself with the right people in order to
Mm-hmm.
really understand and make the difference happen quickly. I'm sure that I could research and find a list of 20 books, different websites, different courses, but in the end, it's all time. And I think I'd rather just go to somebody who did it myself and let them mentor me in how to do the right things. That'd be my advice to everyone.
I love that. And this is funny. That's funny. That's something that my one of my cousins, he is has been investing in real estate, but how he started doing it was he just started talking to a neighbor that was doing it. And the neighbor really liked him and took him under his wing and really coached him on how to find properties, and it has helped him to be successful. When you talk about finding somebody that's done it before, walked in your shoes, do you have any tips on how to approach them, or to identify if they're even willing to share this kind of information with you?
Yeah, I think bluntness is always the best answer. Be friendly. Go, hey, I see you. I know you're successful. I know you did this. I need to do it in my business. I would really appreciate your help. I think you're
Mm-hmm.
just as blunt as you can. You don't get what you don't ask for. So don't beat around the bush. Maybe give yourself a little bit while to know them a little bit. Not the first words out of your mouth, but when you get to the point where you're comfortable with the person, ask. Most
Mm-hmm.
people want to help. Most people will help. Or if they did, they may say, "Hey, I didn't do it myself, but I talked to this person," and then you automatically have the resource they use in order to get there. So I think it's just the thing. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be so prideful that you humble yourself and ask the question and say you need help. I think being prideful at times, all of us get that way, is one of the biggest things that can hurt you when you're trying to succeed or move forward.
I love that.
Agreed.
I love throughout this podcast, you've shared so many great little one-liners that we could just put out there because they're really fantastic. Just small nuggets that people can really take and run with. So thank you
Yeah,
for that.
absolutely. One thing I would leave on is whether it's expenses or anything, you are the average of the five people you hang out the most with. And
Yes.
that's just the way it is. So if you aren't around the people that can help you out with this, get around them, find a way. There's all kinds of great groups out there, BNI groups, mastermind groups. Just invest in yourself and do it. And you'll find somebody that can get you out and help you out with anything you need help with.
Such good
Thank you
advice.
so much.
Thank you so much for the wisdom, Tim.
Absolutely. Really quickly, Tim, before we let you go, can you just share with our audience where they can learn more about you, where they can reach out to you if they'd like to?
Absolutely. You can reach me. Of course, everybody has a phone number, 940-395-4937. Best way to get a hold of me. You can email me at tim.ross@schooleymitchell.com. Schooley Mitchell they're the analysts I use to do all this work. They're amazing. And I tell you what we do is we do a free audit. Our audits are free. We come to you with recommendations, say, would you like to implement these? You say yes or no. When you implement, then we'll help you. You say, I want to implement, we'll help you with that process. And then our fees come out of actual savings that we produce for our clients. So you're never out any money. We share in the savings. If we don't produce savings, you don't pay us a dime. So it's a very, very simple business. It's a no risk business. And I love it because it's a business we can help people out. Being able to help a small business owner afford insurance for their family is very rewarding by just helping them reduce expenses they've been overpaying on. It's amazing what businesses can do whenever you look at that and how you can help people out. And that's what I like about it.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're
Thank you
very
so
welcome.
much, Tim. I'll definitely add all of your info in the blog so that our listeners can reach out to you. Thank you.
Very, very good. Y'all have a great day.
All right. Thank you so
You
much, Tim. Have a wonderful day.